Most Americans over 40 have resigned themselves to a life of increasing dependence on glasses, contacts, or even surgical interventions. It's just part of getting older, they say with a sigh as they reach for their reading glasses. But what if I told you this widely accepted truth might be one of the greatest misconceptions of modern medicine? Take a moment and imagine this. You're 75 years old, sitting on your porch watching your grandchildren play in the distance. Without glasses, you can clearly see their smiling faces, the subtle expressions of joy, even the freckles on their noses. You can read the fine print on your medication bottles without squinting. You can drive at night with confidence. Sounds impossible according to everything you've been told, right? Yet throughout human history and across different cultures, this scenario wasn't a fantasy. It was the norm. In certain remote communities in Ecuador and Nepal, elders in their 80s and 90s maintain eagle-sharp vision without ever having worn a pair of glasses. The Hadza of Tanzania, one of the last hunter-gatherer tribes on Earth, report virtually no age-related vision decline. These aren't anomalies or genetic flukes. They're living proof that what we've accepted as inevitable might actually be preventable. I'll never forget meeting Robert, a 78-year-old former pilot who visited my clinic complaining not about poor vision, but about how his new smartphone was hard to read. During his examination, I discovered something remarkable. His visual acuity was 20/25, nearly perfect, without correction. When I expressed my surprise, he simply shrugged and said, "My father saw perfectly until the day he died at 92. I always figured I would too. But here's where things get interesting. Robert's case isn't as rare as modern medicine would have you believe. The difference is that most healthcare providers don't look for examples like him. They expect deterioration, so they find it. It's a classic case of confirmation bias that's been woven into the fabric of our understanding about aging and vision. The truth is much more empowering. Your eyes aren't mechanical devices that simply wear out over time. They're living, dynamic organs with incredible adaptive capabilities. They respond to their environment, to nutrition, to stress, to toxins, and, most importantly, to the biochemical signals your body sends them. This means that many forms of visual decline aren't simply the result of wearing out, but are actually the result of specific, addressable biological processes. But wait, you might be thinking, if this is true, why hasn't my eye doctor told me this? It's a fair question, and the answer lies in how medicine has evolved. Modern ophthalmology excels at treating acute problems and performing remarkable surgical interventions. What it hasn't focused on is prevention and restoration through nutritional and lifestyle approaches. Most eye doctors are trained to manage decline, not reverse it. When James, a 65-year-old teacher, began experiencing blurry vision, his ophthalmologist immediately prescribed progressive lenses. "This is normal for your age," the doctor assured him. But James wasn't satisfied with this answer. After implementing specific nutritional changes we'll discuss later in this book, including strategic supplementation of vitamin A and its cofactors, James returned to his ophthalmologist 6 months later. His prescription needed to be reduced. His doctor was stunned, calling it highly unusual. Was it really unusual, or simply unexpected within a medical paradigm that doesn't recognize the possibility of improvement? The bold hypothesis I'm putting forward today challenges everything you've been led to believe. Your vision doesn't have to deteriorate with age. The decline most Americans experience isn't normal. It's the result of specific nutritional deficiencies, environmental factors, and lifestyle choices that can be modified. Even more revolutionary, many forms of vision loss might actually be reversible. I understand that this claim sounds extraordinary. After all, we've been conditioned to believe that once vision is lost, it's gone forever. But emerging research in nutritional ophthalmology and numerous clinical cases suggest otherwise. And as you'll discover throughout this book, vitamin A plays a starring role in this potential revolution in eye health. Feel the weight of those glasses on your nose. Hear the frustration in your voice when you can't read a menu in a dimly lit restaurant. Visualize the freedom of waking up and seeing clearly without reaching for corrective lenses. These aren't just inconveniences, they're daily reminders of a dependency that might be unnecessary. As we journey together through these pages, I'll show you precisely why your eyes might be deteriorating, and, more importantly, how you can potentially stop and even reverse this process. The answer doesn't lie in more powerful prescriptions or invasive surgeries. It lies within the remarkable regenerative capacity of your own body when given the right nutritional building blocks. So let's challenge the status quo together. Let's question what we've been told is inevitable. And let's explore the growing evidence that your vision story doesn't have to be one of decline, but could instead be one of renewal and restoration. Before we can restore vision, we need to understand precisely what's damaging it in the first place. Most Americans are completely unaware that their eyesight is under constant assault from 4 insidious forces. These aren't dramatic injuries or infections. They're subtle cumulative processes that chip away at your visual capacity day after day, year after year, until suddenly reading a book or driving at night becomes a struggle. The first and perhaps most important of these silent killers is nutritional deficiency. Your eyes are metabolically ravenous organs. Despite making up just 0.0003% of your body weight, they consume nearly 25% of your nutritional intake. Think about that for a moment. Those 2 small orbs in your face require a quarter of all the nutrients you consume. And when they don't get what they need, they begin to starve on a cellular level. Sarah, a 42-year-old marketing executive, came to me complaining of increasingly frequent headaches and difficulty focusing at work. Her previous doctors had prescribed stronger glasses every year for the past 5 years. "I feel like my eyes are aging faster than the rest of me," she confessed. When we analyzed her diet, the problem became clear. Despite eating what she considered a healthy diet, Sarah consumed almost no preformed vitamin A, retinol, minimal omega-3 fatty acids, and had severely depleted zinc levels. Her eyes were literally starving for critical nutrients. "But I eat carrots all the time," Sarah protested. This common misconception, that plant-based beta-carotene is sufficient for eye health, is one we'll explore in depth. The truth is more complex. Many Americans cannot efficiently convert beta-carotene into the active vitamin A your eyes desperately need. Sarah's vision began improving within weeks once we corrected these specific deficiencies. Can you feel the hunger in your own eyes right now? That subtle strain, the dryness at the end of the day, the increasing difficulty focusing on near objects. These aren't just annoyances. They're distress signals from eyes that are nutritionally malnourished. The second silent killer is chronic inflammation. In a healthy state, inflammation is your body's natural response to injury or infection. But in our modern world, many Americans live with persistent low-grade inflammation triggered by processed foods, environmental toxins, stress, and lack of sleep. This chronic inflammatory state affects every organ in your body, including your eyes. Michael, a 58-year-old with early macular degeneration, displayed classic inflammatory markers during his blood work. "I don't understand," he said. "I don't feel inflamed." That's precisely what makes inflammation so dangerous. You don't feel it until significant damage has already occurred. Michael's diet was heavy in inflammatory omega-6 fatty acids and refined carbohydrates, creating the perfect storm for accelerated vision loss. Imagine a slow-burning fire smoldering inside your retina, gradually damaging the delicate photoreceptors responsible for your sight. You can't see it, you can't feel it, but it's relentlessly destroying your vision. This inflammatory fire doesn't just contribute to macular degeneration. It's implicated in cataracts, glaucoma, diabetic retinopathy, and even everyday issues like dry eyes and blurry vision. The third silent killer is oxidative stress. Your eyes are constantly exposed to environmental hazards that create unstable molecules called free radicals. These molecular renegades damage cellular structures, essentially rusting your eyes from the inside out. Sources of oxidative stress include ultraviolet radiation from sunlight, blue light from digital screens, environmental pollutants, cigarette, smoke, alcohol consumption, even the natural metabolic processes of your body. Patricia, a 64-year-old grandmother, had spent decades working outdoors as a landscaper in the bright Colorado sun. "I always thought my sunglasses were enough protection," she told me, distressed by her recent diagnosis of early cataracts. What Patricia didn't realize was that her eyes had been accumulating oxidative damage for years, and her diet lacked the critical antioxidants needed to neutralize this damage. Close your eyes for a moment and visualize an apple slice turning brown when exposed to air. That's oxidation, a process of molecular damage that occurs when certain substances interact with oxygen. Now imagine that same process happening inside the delicate tissues of your eyes, day after day, year after year. Without adequate antioxidant protection, this oxidative damage accumulates, eventually manifesting as visual impairment. The fourth silent killer is poor circulation. Your eyes contain some of the finest blood vessels in your entire body, delivering critical oxygen and nutrients to the retina and other ocular structures. When circulation is compromised, due to conditions like diabetes, hypertension, or simply aging, these tissues become oxygen-deprived and nutrient-starved. James, whom we met in the previous chapter, had excellent blood pressure and no diabetes, yet specialized testing revealed significantly reduced blood flow to his retinas. "How is this possible?" he asked. The answer lay in his sedentary lifestyle, mild dehydration, and several dietary factors that contributed to microscopic vessel constriction. By addressing these specific circulatory factors, in addition to his nutritional deficiencies, James experienced remarkable improvements in his vision. Picture your eyes as lush gardens requiring constant irrigation. Now imagine the water supply gradually diminishing. First, the outer edges begin to brown, then larger sections wither, and eventually even the hardiest plants struggle to survive. This is precisely what happens when circulation to your eyes becomes compromised. Essential nutrients can't reach their targets, waste products accumulate, and visual function deteriorates. Here's the critical insight that modern ophthalmology often overlooks. All four of these silent killers are modifiable factors. They're not genetic inevitabilities or irreversible consequences of aging. They're biological processes that can be addressed, reduced, and in many cases reversed through specific nutritional and lifestyle interventions. This realization should fill you with hope. The forces destroying your vision aren't mysterious or beyond your control. They're concrete, identifiable processes that respond to targeted intervention. And at the heart of this intervention strategy lies vitamin A and its synergistic nutrients, which we'll explore in depth throughout this book. Can you sense the possibility here? Can you imagine reclaiming control over your visual destiny? The path forward begins with understanding that your eyes aren't passive victims of time, but dynamic organs responding to their biochemical environment, an environment you have the power to transform. One of the most limiting misconceptions in modern ophthalmology is viewing the human eye as merely an optical instrument, similar to a camera. This mechanical perspective has led to mechanical solutions, stronger lenses, surgical interventions, and laser procedures that treat symptoms without addressing root causes. To truly understand how nutrition can restore vision, we must first recognize what your eyes actually are. Remarkably complex living organs with direct neural connections to your brain. Your eyes aren't just taking pictures. They're an extension of your central nervous system. When Rachel, a 39-year-old software developer suffering from chronic dry eyes and progressive myopia, first came to my office, she carried a folder containing her last 5 prescriptions, each stronger than the last. My optometrist said my eyes are like cameras with dirty lenses and weakening focus mechanisms, she explained. This simplistic analogy had left Rachel feeling helpless, believing her deteriorating vision was inevitable. I asked Rachel to place her hand over her heart and feel its steady rhythm, then to touch the skin around her eyes and feel their warmth. "Your eyes are as alive as your beating heart," I told her. "They're not mechanical devices wearing out. They're living tissues responding to their environment. This distinction isn't merely philosophical. It has profound implications for treatment. Living tissues require specific nutrients to function optimally. They react to toxins, inflammation, and stress. Most importantly, they possess remarkable regenerative capabilities when given the right biological support. Let's explore the living nature of your eyes more deeply. Your retina, far from being a simple light-sensing film, is actually an extension of your brain. It contains over 150 million specialized nerve cells organized in complex layers. These cells aren't static. They're constantly communicating, adapting, and even remodeling themselves in response to visual input and biochemical signals. The macula, your central area of vision, contains the highest concentration of photoreceptors in your body. These specialized cells convert light into electrical signals that your brain interprets as vision. Each photoreceptor requires specific nutrients to function, with vitamin A playing the starring role in this biochemical drama. Your lens, which many consider a simple transparent structure, is actually composed of living cells arranged in a precise crystalline pattern. These cells are constantly responding to their nutritional environment, either maintaining clarity or developing opacity, cataracts, depending on available nutrients and protection from oxidative damage. Even your cornea, the clear front surface of your eye, is alive with cells that regenerate every 7 days. This explains why corneal wounds heal so quickly compared to other parts of your body, and why proper nutrition can dramatically impact corneal health. The fluid inside your eye, rather than being a static substance, is constantly being produced and drained, creating a dynamic flow that delivers nutrients and removes waste products. When this flow becomes impaired, as in glaucoma, vision can deteriorate rapidly. Most remarkably, research has revealed that certain retinal cells previously thought incapable of regeneration do, in fact, have regenerative potential when provided with the right biochemical environment. This groundbreaking discovery challenges the long-held belief that retinal damage is always permanent. Can you feel the paradigm shifting? Your eyes aren't mechanical devices with predetermined expiration dates. They're vibrant, responsive organs, capable of healing and regeneration under the right conditions. David, a 53-year-old engineer diagnosed with early glaucoma, had been told his condition was irreversible and would require lifelong medication. My doctor explained that my eye's drainage system was like old plumbing that had deteriorated with age, he recalled. This mechanical view had left David feeling powerless, resigned to progressive vision loss despite medication. Through specialized testing, we discovered that David's trabecular meshwork, the eye's drainage system, wasn't simply worn out, but was inflamed and congested due to specific nutritional deficiencies and inflammatory dietary factors. By addressing these root causes through targeted nutrition, including optimal forms of vitamin A, David's intraocular pressure normalized within 3 months. His ophthalmologist was baffled, but couldn't deny the improvement in his measurements. This living perspective extends to all aspects of vision. Myopia, nearsightedness, isn't simply a too long eyeball, but a dynamic response to visual environment and nutritional status. Presbyopia, age-related difficulty focusing up close, isn't just stiffening lens fibers, but a manifestation of changing cellular metabolism that can be influenced through nutrition. Even serious conditions like macular degeneration represent biological processes that respond to nutritional intervention, not inevitable mechanical failures. The implications are profound and liberating. If your eyes are living tissues responding to their biochemical environment, then changing that environment can change your visual trajectory. This biological reality opens the door to approaches that don't just manage vision decline, but potentially reverse it. As you continue reading, I want you to carry this living perspective with you. Feel the aliveness of your eyes right now. Sense their connection to your brain. Recognize that every cell within them is listening to the biochemical signals your diet and lifestyle are sending. These aren't passive mechanical devices. They're intelligent, adaptive organs that will respond when you provide what they need. In the next chapter, We'll explore how inflammation, one of the 4 silent killers, particularly impacts these living tissues and how specific nutrients can extinguish this destructive fire. Imagine a slow-burning fire smoldering inside your eyes, not hot enough to cause pain, but persistently damaging the delicate structures essential for clear vision. This is chronic inflammation, and it's silently destroying the eyesight of millions of Americans who have no idea it's happening. Unlike acute inflammation, which presents with obvious redness, pain, and swelling, chronic inflammation in your eyes operates covertly. You won't feel it destroying your macula. You won't sense it clouding your lens. You won't perceive it damaging your optic nerve. By the time symptoms appear, blurry vision, floaters, difficulty reading, significant damage has already occurred. Lisa, a 47-year-old elementary school teacher, came to my clinic with complaints of increasing visual fatigue and mild blurring that her regular eye doctor had attributed to normal aging changes. Standard eye exams showed only minor issues that didn't explain her symptoms. However, specialized testing revealed significant inflammatory markers throughout her ocular tissues. "But I don't have any eye disease," Lisa protested. "How can my eyes be inflamed?" This common misconception, that inflammation only occurs with diagnosed disease, prevents many people from addressing this silent destroyer before it causes noticeable damage. The truth is that inflammation exists on a spectrum, from subclinical levels that cause no immediate symptoms to severe states that manifest as diagnosed conditions. Lisa was experiencing what I call pre-symptomatic inflammatory damage, enough to affect her visual performance, but not enough to trigger diagnostic criteria for disease. Where does this insidious inflammation come from? The primary sources might surprise you. Dietary inflammation tops the list for most Americans. The standard American diet is a perfect inflammatory storm, high in processed vegetable oils rich in pro-inflammatory omega-6 fatty acids, refined carbohydrates that trigger insulin spikes, sugar that directly activates inflammatory pathways, and artificial additives that the body recognizes as foreign invaders. Each meal containing these elements sends inflammatory signals cascading throughout your body, including your eyes. When Thomas, a 62-year-old with rapidly progressing macular degeneration, tracked his diet for 2 weeks, we discovered he was consuming an average of 19.1 ratio of omega-6 to omega-3 fatty acids, nearly 4 times the already imbalanced American average of 5.1. For perspective, the optimal ratio is around 1.1. This severe imbalance was literally fueling the inflammatory fire consuming his macula. Gut inflammation represents another major contributor that few people connect to eye health. Your digestive system contains nearly 70% of your immune tissue, and when this system becomes inflamed due to food sensitivities, dysbiosis, imbalanced gut bacteria, or intestinal permeability, leaky gut, it releases inflammatory cytokines that travel throughout your body, including to your eyes. Melissa, a 35-year-old marketing director with recurrent iritis, inflammation of the iris, had seen 3 specialists who prescribed increasingly powerful steroid eye drops. None had investigated why her eye was inflamed in the first place. Testing revealed significant intestinal permeability and multiple food sensitivities. When we addressed these root causes, her eye inflammation resolved completely and hasn't returned in over 3 years. Environmental inflammation comes from exposure to toxins, pollutants, excessive screen time, and even certain lighting conditions. Modern Americans are exposed to more environmental inflammatory triggers than any generation in history, from air pollution and industrial chemicals to the blue light emitted by digital devices. Robert, the 78-year-old former pilot, with exceptional vision whom we met earlier, had one significant environmental advantage: decades of living in a rural area with minimal pollution, limited screen exposure, and regular outdoor time in natural light. His inflammatory burden from environmental sources was dramatically lower than that of the average urban American. Stress-induced inflammation might be the most overlooked contributor to eye problems. When you experience chronic stress, your body releases cortisol and other stress hormones that, when chronically elevated, trigger and perpetuate inflammatory processes throughout your body, including your visual system. Jennifer, a 43-year-old attorney with rapidly developing cataracts despite no family history or significant risk factors, initially dismissed stress as a possible contributor. Everyone has stress, she argued. However, specialized testing revealed her cortisol levels remained elevated throughout the day and night, never allowing her body to enter the restorative, anti-inflammatory rest state necessary for tissue repair. Her lens cells were being continuously exposed to stress-induced inflammatory signals. Here's the crucial point that connects inflammation to our central topic. Vitamin A isn't just important for vision because it forms retinal pigments. It's one of the body's most powerful natural anti-inflammatory agents. When properly activated and supported by synergistic nutrients, vitamin A helps extinguish the inflammatory fires threatening your eyesight. This explains why many conventional approaches to eye disease fail. They attempt to address symptoms without extinguishing the underlying inflammatory fire. It's like trying to repair a house while it's still burning. Until you put out the flames, any repairs will be temporary at best. Can you feel the heat of inflammation in your own body right now? That subtle tension in your temples, the barely perceptible pressure behind your eyes, the mild dryness on your ocular surface. These might not just be symptoms of fatigue or eye strain. They could be the early warning signs of chronic inflammation, threatening your visual future. The good news is that this inflammatory fire can be extinguished. Through targeted nutrition, specific anti-inflammatory compounds, and lifestyle modifications, you can dramatically reduce ocular inflammation and create an environment conducive to healing and regeneration. In the case of Lisa, the elementary school teacher with pre-symptomatic inflammatory changes, a comprehensive anti-inflammatory protocol, including optimized vitamin A intake, omega-3 supplementation, elimination of inflammatory foods, and targeted stress reduction, resulted in complete resolution of her symptoms within 3 months. More importantly, follow-up testing showed normalization of her inflammatory markers, potentially preventing serious eye disease decades before it would have manifested. As we move forward, remember this fundamental truth. Inflammation isn't just a contributor to eye disease, it's often the primary driver. Address the inflammation, and you address the root cause of countless visual problems. And as you'll discover in later chapters, vitamin A plays a central role in this anti-inflammatory strategy. If inflammation is the smoldering fire destroying your vision, oxidative stress is the rust corroding it from within. These two destructive forces often work in tandem, creating a vicious cycle that accelerates visual decline. Understanding oxidative stress is essential to comprehending why certain nutrients, particularly vitamin A and its synergistic partners, are so critical for preserving and potentially restoring vision. To grasp oxidative stress, picture an apple slice turning brown when exposed to air. This discoloration represents oxidation, a chemical process where the apple's cells are damaged through interaction with oxygen. A similar process occurs continuously within every cell of your body, including the delicate tissues of your eyes. During normal cellular metabolism, your body produces unstable molecules called free radicals. These molecular troublemakers are missing an electron, making them highly reactive. They frantically steal electrons from nearby molecules, damaging cellular ECU structures in the process. This is oxidative stress in action. Your eyes are particularly vulnerable to oxidative damage for several compelling reasons. First, your retina has the highest oxygen consumption rate of any tissue in your body, roughly 50% higher than your brain and 3 times higher than your heart. Where there's high oxygen use, there's high free radical production. Every second of every day, your retinal cells generate tremendous numbers of free radicals simply by doing their job. Second, your eyes are constantly exposed to external sources of oxidative stress, ultraviolet radiation from sunlight, blue light from digital screens, environmental pollutants, and even the oxygen in the air itself. These exposures generate additional free radicals beyond those produced by normal metabolism. Third, the photoreceptor cells in your retina contain high concentrations of delicate polyunsaturated fatty acids, molecules that are particularly susceptible to oxidative damage. Think of these fatty acids as the perfect fuel for the oxidative fire. Edward, a 56-year-old construction foreman with early cataracts, was baffled by his diagnosis. "I always wear sunglasses and a hat at work," he told me during our consultation. What Edward didn't realize was that his pack-a-day smoking habit was flooding his body and his lens cells with free radicals. Combined with his nutrient-poor diet, this created the perfect storm for accelerated oxidative damage to his lens proteins. The consequences of unchecked oxidative stress in your eyes are far-reaching and potentially devastating. In your lens, oxidative damage causes proteins to clump together, creating the cloudy opacity we call cataracts. In your retina, it damages photoreceptors and retinal pigment epithelium cells, contributing to conditions like macular degeneration. In your trabecular meshwork, the eye's drainage system, oxidative stress impairs function and can increase intraocular pressure, a major risk factor for glaucoma. In your optic nerve, it compromises energy production and can accelerate nerve fiber damage. Even the tears that lubricate your eyes are affected, as oxidative stress damages the meibomian glands that produce the oily layer of your tear film, contributing to dry eye syndrome. Think of oxidative stress as biological rust, I explained to Catherine, a 61-year-old retired teacher concerned about her family history of macular degeneration. Just as rust weakens metal over time, oxidative stress weakens the structures of your eyes. Catherine's response was perfectly logical. So I need some kind of rust protection for my eyes? This intuitive understanding gets to the heart of our antioxidant strategy. Your body has natural defense systems against oxidative damage, primarily antioxidant molecules that neutralize free radicals by donating electrons without becoming destructive themselves. Think of antioxidants as molecular firefighters, quenching the oxidative flames before they can spread. However, many Americans face a critical antioxidant gap. The demand for antioxidant protection outpaces their supply. This gap widens with age, poor nutrition, increased stress, environmental exposures, and certain genetic factors. When your antioxidant defenses can't keep pace with free radical production, oxidative damage accumulates, and visual problems begin to emerge. This brings us to vitamin A's crucial role in ocular antioxidant protection. While not always categorized as an antioxidant in the traditional sense, vitamin A offers powerful protection against oxidative stress through multiple mechanisms. It directly scavenges certain types of free radicals in photoreceptor membranes. It upregulates your body's production of endogenous antioxidant enzymes like glutathione peroxidase. It stabilizes cell membranes, making them more resistant to oxidative damage. It reduces the production of inflammatory cytokines that amplify oxidative stress. It helps maintain the structural integrity of photoreceptor outer segments, which are highly vulnerable to oxidative damage. Most critically, vitamin A doesn't work alone. It functions as part of an interconnected antioxidant network that includes vitamin E, vitamin C, zinc, copper, selenium, and specialized ocular carotenoids like lutein and zeaxanthin. When any component of this network is deficient, your eye's antioxidant shield becomes compromised. Maria, a 49-year-old with rapidly progressing myopia, nearsightedness, underwent specialized testing that revealed severe depletion of her ocular antioxidant resources despite taking a standard multivitamin. "I thought I was protected," she said, confused by the results. What Maria didn't realize was that generic supplements often contain inadequate forms and dosages of critical nutrients, and sometimes lack essential synergistic compounds altogether. The modern American lifestyle creates the perfect conditions for ocular oxidative stress. Prolonged screen time exposes your retina to blue light, increasing free radical production. Processed foods lack the antioxidants found in whole foods, while often containing compounds that increase oxidative stress. Environmental pollutants trigger free radical generation throughout your body, including your eyes. Sleep deprivation impairs your body's overnight antioxidant restoration processes. Chronic stress depletes antioxidant reserves, while increasing free radical production. Can you sense the oxidative burden your own eyes might be carrying right now? That subtle discomfort after hours at the computer, the slight haziness in your vision at the end of a long day, the increasing need for brighter light to read comfortably. These could be early manifestations of accumulated oxidative damage. The good news is that oxidative stress can be effectively addressed through strategic nutritional intervention. By optimizing your intake of vitamin A and its synergistic nutrients, you can significantly enhance your eye's antioxidant defenses, potentially slowing, stopping, or even reversing oxidative damage. James, whom we met earlier, saw his early cataracts stabilize and his visual acuity improve after implementing a comprehensive antioxidant protocol centered around optimal vitamin A nutrition. His ophthalmologist, initially skeptical, documented the changes but admitted, "I don't have a medical explanation for this improvement." As we'll explore in the coming chapters, addressing oxidative stress isn't just about consuming random antioxidants. It requires a strategic approach that provides the right nutrients in the right forms and combinations to optimize your visual system's natural protective mechanisms. And at the center of this strategy lies vitamin A, not as an isolated nutrient, but as the cornerstone of a comprehensive ocular protection system.